This is what many people think of when they picture Afghanistan, a country plagued by war. However, it hasn't always been like this. It is 1973. This is King Zahir Shah. He rules Afghanistan as a modern democracy with free elections, women's rights, and strong international relationships. However, later that year, political unrest among the Afghani people forces King Zahir Shah out of power. Fearful that the US will use Afghanistan as a site to launch nuclear missiles, the Soviet Union decides to invade Afghanistan. In December 1979, Soviet leader Brezhnev decides that the communists cannot lose Afghanistan and invades on Christmas morning. Many times throughout history, armies have tried but failed to conquer Afghanistan's rocky terrain. The Soviet army was very confident going up against the poorly armed Afghani people. After 3 years of fighting, the Soviet army still couldn't stamp out the Afghani resistance. The US could see that the Afghans were clearly a very strong fighting force.
We began to appreciate the qualities of the Afghans, their ability to absorb punishment, the strength of their faith, their ingenuity in designing ways to kill the Russians. If we armed these people, they would continue to fight the Russians forever.
In 1982, under Ronald Reagan, the US spending on the CIA's Afghan program increased to $200 million. The US provided the Stinger missile, a shoulder-launching missile that locked onto aircraft using heat sensors. In 1986, the Mujahideen used the Stinger for the first time, aiming at a Soviet plane.
After we received the Stinger, we were able to master in big numbers. So I will bring Mujahideens from different provinces together, make a very mighty force out of it.
Along with the US, the Mujahideen were also funded by Osama bin Laden, who has also claimed responsibility for the September 11th terrorist attacks on the US. According to the men who worked alongside the future al-Qaeda leader, bin Laden provided funding and construction experience to the Mujahideen.
He started building mountainside caves for storage of ammunition and started building roads. And then he was very generous with money. He was popular among all Mujahideen.
When he was with us, helping the poor, widows, orphans, organizing funds for some needy peoples, we had no problem with him at all.
In 1989, Soviet leader Gorbachev decided that the Soviets had bled too much and decided to pull out of Afghanistan. The war was over, but with the end of one war in Afghanistan comes the beginning of another, as rival Mujahideen factions vie for political control. Each division of the Mujahideen races to Kabul to conquer the nation. The Mujahideen leaders couldn't agree to form a new government, Each commander wanted to govern his own territory autonomously. Eventually, they turned their guns on each other, and Afghanistan was pulled into civil war. As the Civil War raged on, President Bill Clinton closed the U.S.-Afghan embassy as a sign of decreasing U.S. interest.
Afghans became very disappointed when we saw that those friends that they were sending us money, stingers, all those sophisticated weapons, they stopped.
A favorite starts to emerge in the Civil War. His name is Mullah Omar, who has enlisted 30 fellow Islamic students calling themselves the Taliban.
I will tell you why I was joined with the Taliban. We have responsibility to protect the people and to protect the area.
With just 16 rifles, Omar lays siege to a fellow Mujahideen warlord's compound. He kills the commander and hangs the body from the barrels of his tanks. Later that night, Omar apparently had a dream.
The Holy Prophet Muhammad coming into his dreams and telling him to pick up the gun and fight the Mujahideen, and that he's going to establish his rule all over the country.
The Taliban are gaining speed in their overthrow of Afghanistan. In Kandahar, the Taliban picks up weapons that the Soviets left behind. The Taliban recovered rifles, explosives, tanks, and even gunships and Russian MiG fighter jets. With new advanced weaponry, Omar's troops look to expand. In the next 3 months, the Taliban conquers 12 of Afghanistan's 31 provinces. Ahmed Shah Massoud is the only former Mujahideen warlord left in Mullah Omar's way. A former ally of Omar, Osama bin Laden, comes to the aid of Mullah Omar, giving $3 million of his own money to the Taliban cause. With bin Laden's money, Omar defeats Massoud at Kabul, the nation's capital. The only person left to defy Omar was former President Ajibullah. Omar's assassins found him and killed both him and his brother. With the Taliban in control for no more than 4 hours, they implement strict laws banning TV, music, satellite dishes, and games. Overall, U.S. presidents like Carter and Reagan essentially put in power the same terrorist forces we are fighting against today.
We're smoking them out, they're running, and now we're going to bring them to justice. I also said we'll use whatever means is necessary to achieve that objective. That's exactly what we're going to do. The American people must understand that we've got a long way to go in order to achieve our objective in this theater. But we're patient, we're resolved, and we will stay the course until we achieve our objective.
Here's a glimpse of what the war looks like today. However, the war is looking better.
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children. It was nearly 10 years ago that a bright September day was darkened by the worst attack on the American people in our history. The images of 9/11 are seared into our national memory.